any public employee in which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility, and to confer with legal counsel, to consider social or personal histories of specific persons under Wisconsin statute 1925, Brand 1, Brand C, Brand F, Brand G, and Wisconsin statute 118.125. We begin then tonight with reorganization of the school board and election of officers, so I turn it over to Mr. Levy.
Okay, I will accept any nominations for president.
I nominate Lisa Berry.
Second. First and a second for Lisa Berry. Any other nominations? Any other nominations? All in nominations? Hearing none. All in favor of Lisa Berry continuing as president, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Back to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Then we will take a nomination for vice president.
Nominate Keith Wolfman as vice president.
Second.
Are there any other nominations? Any other nominations? Any other nominations? All in favor then of Keith Wolfman as vice president, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Treasurer. Dave Heckmanski has served as treasurer.
I nominate Dave Backmancy as treasurer.
Second.
Are there any other nominations? Any other nominations? Any other nominations? Hearing none, all in favor for Dave as Dave Heckmanski as treasurer, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Clerk.
I nominate Jeff as assistant.
Second.
Are there any other nominations? Any other nominations? Any other nominations? There are no other nominations. All in favor of Jeff Isaacson as clerk, signify so by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Then we have the assistant clerk.
Nominate Dick White.
Second.
Any other nominations? Any other nominations? Any other nominations? Hearing none. All in favor of Dick Weidman as assistant clerk, signify so by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We have attached the committee list. Some of these committees we just don't use, we haven't met. Is there a committee that someone's on that they don't wish to serve on anymore? I guess let me know by next meeting. If there's a committee you're on that you don't wish to serve on, let me know. Or if you wish to be added to a committee, let me know.
The diversity committee never meets, so I think we may as well.
I was thinking we should just strike it, and if we
Yeah.
need to, if some topics come up, we can make an ad hoc committee at a later time.
The lunch committee.
It's just you. Don't you have it yourself?
I was
Come on,
like,
come on and eat with Tiffany.
Yeah, I was
Seems to be
suggesting
operational.
that we really need that to be,
Probably not.
I think we'll strike the lunch committee.
You know what, forward to add something.
If something comes out, we can add it as an ad hoc committee.
Aren't they changing the lunch program or something?
Negotiations.
Pricing we are.
Well, I mean, the national standards, sorry.
It might be,
We've got staff development and staff development curriculum. Aren't those the same thing? We really don't staff development that meets, but I don't know if there's staff development and curriculum.
The committee that meets once a month, I think it's the first Monday of the month, that's the staff development curriculum committee. And so then you, the person on there is Chad October.
The simple staff development off the list. Okay. So if you have another change for next month, please let me know before the meeting and we'll get that change made. We are scheduled to have a presentation by the architects about Mr. Lippy's setting that up. I'm going to look to see if there's anything anybody wishes to have removed from the consent agenda or a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I move to approve the consent agenda as listed.
Second?
There's a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as listed. Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion is carried with the Sevastopol Historical Society donated $500 to the Centennial 100 years anniversary fund. Are we ready with Clint? Administrators go through the
He's supposed to be working, I think he's here.
There he is.
Hi, Clint, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Can you folks hear him?
can everybody hear him?
Can you hear me?
We can hear you, yes.
Okay, wonderful.
The floor is yours, Clint, go ahead.
All right.
For those of you that don't know, Clint is with Gray Architects and he's been having the auxiliary gym committee meetings. I think there have been 3 of them.
Well, first of all, thank you for allowing me to meet with you guys virtually. I'm across the bay in Crivets at the moment, so I would have taken quite a boat ride to get over there in time. So appreciate the opportunity to show you kind of where we sit with the facility committee or the planning committee, that process that we did. So I guess briefly we did a series of 3 meetings to date with that group. Kind of started with some of the initial concepts. I think I did present to you back when I met with you last time. But you know, when we did the recent project there, we did briefly explore some options to add the gym at that time, and it didn't gather steam, or we weren't able to fit it within the budget, so we tabled that at that particular. Through briefly where we left things off with the group. I think at the end of the 3rd meeting, the group really thought that you know, the next step would be bringing this back to the board, getting your questions and perspectives on things. Does that need to go back to the committee to reevaluate or come back with? We can certainly do. Or if it's, again, a matter of then transitioning into state.
Hey, Clint.
I guess one of the
Clint, can you hear me?
Topics.
Clint, can you hear us?
You're breaking up a little bit.
Yeah.
Could you shut off your video and see if that helps? We'll remember your face. You're just breaking up, and so we're not getting the whole message that you have prepared.
I just shut the video off. Did that work?
Yep, that's
Yeah,
it. We'll see that.
Keep talking.
All right. That's not the first time all right. That question really, as we go through this process, and is the timeline. So when we started talking about it, we did kind of admittedly look at a bit more of an aggressive approach to the timeline, potentially looking at November as maybe the earliest possible date that we could consider. I think all times when you create a schedule, you know, momentum is a real thing. So we did think that it was possible to get to November. However, we know there's a number of circumstances the district's facing, namely potential of an operational referendum. So the potential for a capital or a two-question referendum cycle, I know is something that needs to be considered. And given the importance of the operational referendum, we obviously want to focus on that and make sure that we're not jeopardizing the success of that referendum with anything else. So again, I still think with the process that we're under, with the opportunity that we had again to engage that committee, if the board would continue or would choose to continue a path towards November, I think that's doable. But the other scenario is that we potentially look or consider moving things to an April referendum. I would say maybe the defining characteristic between these two schedules would be the timing of the school perception survey. So if I jump back to the November referendum, what we had talked about our plan to do was to get that survey out yet this basically this summer, so it would essentially run the month of June / maybe possibly into July. I think given where we're at right now, it would likely close sometime in July, and then again report back the findings to the board for evaluation. So essentially we still can't go down that route. However, if the board is entertaining an April timeline, that would allow us to shift the survey out into the fall. One of the things we did talk about with the committee is maybe some of the potential communication challenges with running the operational referendum. Basically, you'd be doing some communications and stuff during the fall, and then also have the survey out. And there might be some challenges with the communications aspect of that. So again, I guess in terms of kind of some feedback for tonight, that might be something to consider or discuss as we move forward. So I would say that the timing and overall schedule is definitely something that that committee was not. That's a board decision that needs to be made. So, but the committee, I think, was supportive of whatever decision the board would make in regard to that. As we went through the process, again, the next couple slides just really, again, kind of discuss needs, visions, and goals. So as we consider kind of each of the individual spaces we're focused on, in this case, this is kind of talking about multi-purpose and gym space, what we currently have, perhaps some of the limitations within the spaces and challenges we have in the spaces, the challenges with scheduling, especially during those times where we have performances in the 91 or the elementary gym. So again, the need for more space and more ability to serve our students and our groups of individuals. We also spent a fair amount of time talking about the performance space itself, and again, the 91 being a multi-purpose space. What often happens in multi-purpose spaces is it maybe does one of the things well and one of the things not so well, or maybe in some cases it does neither of the things very well. I think as an elementary gym, it performs well. As a performance space, it certainly has its challenges and limitations. So again, a lot of discussion of what we could do to either improve that space or maybe look for other solutions for this need. Talk about weights and fitness. The challenge again, given that we're located on the current or former stage of the 1965 portion of the gym, it's not accessible from a handicap perspective. It's really challenging, accessible from just day-to-day or usage perspective, and allowing kids into the building and access to that space. And then again, weight and fitness is a lot different than even when I was in high school, and just the size limitations and the ability to again serve the athletes and those using that space. We discussed the locker rooms, some of the challenges within them. 1965, just dated, old, a lot of challenges with the plumbing and so forth. Really just needs an overall facelift. And then the 1991 locker rooms were really probably more usage as a storage space than necessarily as locker room space. Some of the challenges with the older style multi-person showers versus individual showers, and then a lack of space for teams to meet. The challenges you'll face with the parking lot, and one of the questions asked was if we got done with this project, and the challenges with parking, what would be the additional number of parking spaces we would hope to try to accommodate. It was kind of talked in the 30 to 40 range, and then I think more importantly is just trying to get parking spaces that are more adjacent or closer to some of the public areas of the building where, again, some of our seniors or parents or grandparents are coming to see their kids' performances or events, and they may have to park out in the back 40, and they have a long walk during the cold winter night. We did revisit some of the diagramming and information that we have available for the wetlands and floodplains and so forth. So this is a quick map that we looked at in terms of some of the potential areas we might want to avoid as part of the project. I would say the kind of the big orange blob in the middle is probably the biggest of greatest concern. That is the kind of the wetland area that is mapped out. The purple area is just an area that if we were to do a project in that zone or that area, we would likely be required by DNR to do a wetland delineation, which we were required during the last project that we did. So again, it just kind of helps to inform where some of our buildable areas are. So that really kind of brings us to the general concept or the idea that we really explored with the group. I'm going to zoom in a little bit because the site plan kind of orientation is kind of hard to see on the full scale. So forgive me as I get this reoriented. But similar to during the actual referendum process, we really, again, focused on a solution, adding the gym really between the 91 and the 65. Kind of what we heard over and over from the group is, if we are able to do this right and kind of connect the two buildings back up again and really connect those public spaces, more importantly, back up again, it better serves the needs of the facility on a day-to-day basis, as well as the needs of the facility for tournaments or those types of settings where it's easier to supervise and control and restrict access throughout the building. As far as the parking, if we do build here, we do lose about, I believe it's 20 to 25 spaces. So to better accommodate that, we talked about expanding the parking to the north here where the current playground exists, and then kind of flipping the playground on the other side of the playground equipment and into the wooded area here. It just seemed get to the public to build it and also get that into 30 to 40 spaces. Obviously, I think as the district maybe gains an opportunity, and I know someone mentioned at one point in time that there was potentially one of these properties for sale, but again, I think long-term, if the district is able to get some of those residential or properties again to the north there, that would be, again, nice opportunities to expand parking or even have future expansion potentials continue to the north. I was also talked briefly about the parking lot to the south, and again, just in general of trying to maximize parking, and again, double-checked with some of the wetland delineation that we had during the project. So we do believe we could add some additional parking down in this location as well in the south, kind of, I'll say south of the greenhouse and east of the large south parking lot. We are kind of stretching this up to the point where the delineation showed up in the woods. We're giving a little bit of buffer here, but this did appear to kind of fit within what would be allowable for some expansion. Mentioned the 1965 locker rooms, so these are the lower level locker rooms cafeteria. So again, the idea in here would be a full renovation of that space, creating two equal-sized locker rooms with bathrooms and kind of showers, office space, lots of storage, and some janitorial spaces as well. As we looked at the layouts of these, again, when I say 110 lockers, that's actual individual locker spots. So you can imagine sometimes when you go to a locker room, it might be tiers of 2 tall or 3, or I've seen even 5 of the smaller style lockers. So we could easily increase above that 110 number depending on how that configuration will go. I also, in this locker room and then the new locker room I'm showing in the addition, also showed a space kind of for that chalk talk or team area within the locker rooms. Again, within the addition itself then, so that's our red area here. The idea is we would link up kind of to the new atrium that we built as part of the last addition, and we would step back up to the level where we're at. The addition would be built at the same level as the district office and the library portion of the middle school, high school, and then we would be built at I don't believe they quite exactly match up, but as a similar height to the 91 gym. So again, putting this all on the same level. There was a lot of talk of kind of what level this would go on, again, from the perspective of entry and all of those types of things. I think that's really the best location for this facility. The gym itself, we did talk about this as a 2-court, or we refer to it as a 2-court or 2-station gym. It does fit 2 full-size courts. It could have a drop-down curtain, and then I believe we had bleachers for, if I do the math quickly, I think it was like 800 or 900 people, or maybe close to 1,000. With this size or configuration of a gym, you could actually get up as high as 1,400, but the group really felt that was overkill. So again, I think we're maybe just a tick under 900. Out front then would be a new fitness space. Again, while we do show a lot of doors and stuff, there could be a door here to allow access right off of this little entry foyer. But again, the idea of putting it out front so that it is accessible to the community. We've seen a lot of districts kind of put their fitness center in a position like this. There is the opportunity to have some windows and stuff and make it look very, very attractive and very nice as kind of the front entry to your building. And then the other discussion was within the 91 portion was renovating the current locker rooms and really just updating those as toilets. There was talk of a lot when the space is used for performances, or even when it is used for different sports, there's the toilets that there are really insufficient, and really they're insufficient as locker rooms. So the idea would be within the addition to potentially build new locker rooms, new concession, trainer space, and then within the current 91 gym, making improvements so this would function better as a performance space. So those would include some fold-out bleachers. I'll show you kind of a picture of what those look like with more of a theater-style seating. We would update the acoustics within this space. We had talked about updating the system, some rigging potentially on the stage, and then the audio system within that as well. So the next slide, again, kind of talks about that performance space, and then here is kind of an example of what that more kind of theater style bleachers would be. So again, these are retractable in and out. When they retract in, the little seats kind of flip down, and it kind of stacks back in, just like sort of a more or less a normal bleacher. And then obviously when it pulls out, you have a much nicer seating capacity and environment for them. So as we looked at this overall plan, we tried to kind of break this up into some different areas of scope. So So if we just were to look at building the two-station gym portion of this, we're looking at, we'll say, just roughly about a $12 million project. Now, when we look at that, I did include all the site-related work within that cost, as well as just some of the general conditions costs and so forth that would be expected as part of the project. So if you were to kind of do it on a square foot basis, sort of as we look to add some of the additional things in right now, it's essentially kind of the philosophy of economy of scale of as we add on some of the things to the project that if the square foot number for some of these isn't quite as reflective as this one. So if further breakout of this cost were needed, we could certainly take a look at that. This cost is also inflated out a couple of years. Again, even if we went to referendum in November or April or later, we would obviously want to include some inflation onto those costs. So that is kind of the general idea is that there's a couple of years worth of inflation at 5, I believe I calculated at 5% per year to account for that. So that addition of the locker room concessions and trainer that was shown in the red color, again, right around 1.7. The group from last time did ask me to break out the 91 gym to kind of see what the individual costs were for that. Again, there's probably there's definitely ways to save some money if the goal would be to reduce the cost. This one, again, we could look to fine tune this, but again, the idea was really trying to upgrade that space to have it serve well as a performance space, but it also would continue to be a gymnasium as well. Renovation of the 1865 lockers. Again, quite a bit of work down there, including redoing some of the sanitary piping and stuff below the current slab, and then the addition of weight and fitness. So our overall project, right around the $20 to $1 million mark for the entire area you saw shown in red, as well as those site areas. I would say as these items are listed, we did kind of ask the group to sort of prioritize the different aspects of this project to, again, kind of help provide the board with some degree of what they thought was most important. So as you kind of go down, it goes from, in their minds, most important to that they thought they could maybe live without right away. Quickly, just a couple other considerations or variations that we talked about. I know one of the concerns from the folks there that were kind of advocates on the behalf of the performance side of things is some concern with, again, the size of the current stage, and then kind of the lack of wing space, the lack of, and the fact that the band and choir kind of become the de facto dressing rooms and so forth. So I kind of had them to build a stage, more of a separate stage, as well as some of the support spaces on the back side of the 91 gym, and really kind of, essentially kind of flip the concept for that. That would allow band and choir to potentially be renovated and expanded, or utilizing the current stage for storage, or maybe practice spaces or so forth for band and choir. And then again, getting a nice larger stage, potentially some dressing room space, stage construction, storage, so forth. Again, the suggestion of spaces as shown here is kind of a preliminary concept. If the group wanted a larger stage, we could push the dressing rooms in and so forth. So again, a general idea. I would say the remainder of this concept, the size of the gym and so forth, is something that is still shown and considered from the last option. And then another piece that was kind of pulled, I would say, from the prioritization piece was, as we were looking at the new gym, the thought was to put a walking track in, and then maybe even utilizing the space on the second floor of above the fitness for some additional classroom and storage space. But again, as we were kind of looking at the overall concept for this, as you can imagine, I think the costs of these got very high. When I flip to the next slide, you will see that the track number probably will surprise you, but again, this is a lot of square footage when you add it up. And then I'm also taking into account we do need to build a stair for that, as well as do some renovation tying into the existing building. So this last slide then is kind of a line item for some of those additional things. So we also did ask the consideration of if we were to just build a one-station gym versus a two-station gym. So again, flipping back to our plan, essentially building kind of half of this gym. What would that? And then again, that addition of a stage and a renovation of the performance space versus the previous option. Here I'm showing it as a lump sum. The walking track addition, and then those second classroom additions. The final consideration was something that was brought up in our last meeting, and that was just the thought of, rather than building a kind of a stage, what if we did, the individual described it as a purpose or a black box theater, and that's something that we have seen included in some of the newer high schools we've done in Neenah and Sun Prairie. But it's essentially just a smaller version of a stage that's also utilized for smaller audiences and kind of a different style of performance. It would pretty much serve that purpose as kind of a theater performance space. It's hard to make those multi-purpose because again, you're investing a lot of money potentially in lights and sound and audio, so you wouldn't necessarily want balls flying around in that space. Again, the question or consideration is that, you know, maybe it would be something that would again be a little bit different than you see in other places in the community. Could still be utilized as a community amenity as well as supporting the students. So again, kind of the meeting number 3 was that no additional meetings were needed at this time. The information should be presented to the board for consideration of next steps, possible schedule, scope, and/or budget discussion. And Lisa, obviously you were at all of the committee meetings. If I neglected to mention something or skipped over something, please feel free to chime in with any additional comments you have.
I'll withhold my comments for right now and ask the school board their comments and questions.
Just a question on the parking, Clint. Is what you're proposing really going to be adequate? Because I know now, like graduation and so on, parking is a problem now. So is what you're proposing going to be at least adequate, if not more so?
I believe in total, I think we're adding upwards of 100 to 120 additional parking spaces above and beyond what you have currently, both in terms of this expansion of the parking lot on the north side here, which it's a little, sorry if it's fuzzy, which again, I think this alone got us that made up for this, as well as the 30 to 40 spots. And then down here, this was 70 additional spots. So if we were to build all of this parking, again, I believe this would be upwards of 100 spots above what you currently have. So if that doesn't meet your needs, I certainly can try to find more ways to add additional parking.
Thank you.
I have a question. Do I understand this right? So if you were to go ahead with this and complete this whole thing, whether it's a girls' basketball game or a boys' basketball game, it still will be played in the same gym they're playing it in now?
It would not be played in the gym with the stairs. It would not be played in that gym. That would become, the new gym would become the competition gym.
Okay.
Clint, did someone talk about the numbers and what it does to the mill rate and stuff like that? Have you gotten into that discussion, or did you have a finance guy there? Or, you know what I mean? Like,
No, we did not get into that. I don't know, Kyle and Lisa, if you did end up looking into that at all, but we did not talk about it with the group.
I did not yet, but I could get a hold of Mike Clark from Baird. Look at that, it looks like 20 million, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the reval is going to
Well,
reveal a whole different situation.
there's two things there. One is the mill rate, but then it's also the amount you collect from the folks. You know, so if everyone's property moves, great, but you're adding more tax dollars. Not that everyone's house will move proportionally, but
Anybody? Well, okay, I'll tell you what I think. I don't dispute that, everything on this list would be great. I don't dispute that there is a need for another gymnasium, for the students, for practice time, for game times, and avoiding those late nights and early mornings. I did tell Clint, I do not think this board should think about taking this to referendum in November. I think the most important thing is our operational referendum in November. I also wonder, realistically, I don't see this district accepting a $21 million athletic project. I think a $10 million gymnasium project is going to be a hard sell at this time. I know our mill rate is lower than everyone else's, except Geralder's. But as Kyle said, our mill rate's lower, but we'll be collecting more tax dollars if we take this to a referendum and have it approved. And I wonder how accepting the community would be of that at this time when some of us are doing pretty well and some are struggling with everyday costs.
I have a question to the board. And the architect, when you all planned the addition we just completed and was well supported by the community, did discussions about a need for a new gym come in?
Yeah.
And for reason it was not put in?
Because the group, we established a budget. We actually looked at the mill rates, and we talked about, the 35 people that were there all had to weigh in as taxpayers, and their community and people they represented to say, what would settle? And I think one of the guys actually was a finance guy, Peter, I think it was. And we started talking mill rates and what we could justify. And so we picked a lower number, because we're at 52 with everything, right? So then we ended up with the 23 or something.
5.1.
Yeah.
The other part there was,
So
it was a one-to-one replacement. There's a multi-purpose room in the other building, it's here now. There was an industrial arts wing, there's an industrial arts wing, so it was a one-for-one replacement at that time.
But the average taxpayer doesn't know that. And I think I can see a lot of average taxpayers saying, you're trying to hoodwink me. You got at this building, and now you're coming back within 3-4 years, another 24 million. Yeah, that was poor planning. I'm just saying what there was.
Sure.
That was either poor planning on the school's fault part, or that was a long-term plan. We'll get this, and then we'll come back for another 20 million. I don't think, there's not that there is a need here, but this is all about timing.
Well, but Jerry, and you've seen it, hospitals, schools, everywhere, everyone's piecemealing their construction. TTX, you go through the years and years that they have. So I don't know that the timing, your comments are all that critical, because the YMCA just finished an addition and they're doing another one.
Yeah, but there's not enough taxpayer money.
I'm just saying how business and you plan for capital buildings, it is more commonly this way. Whoever you are, if you're doing capital investment, it is usually a smaller amount that you can afford at that time, and then you add the next capital investment down the road. So I know that's, I'm not saying we're ready in the fall either, but I'm just saying, I don't think we should stop doing it, because what we need to better articulate to me are all, this isn't just for an athletic thing, I don't think. Let's get the teachers, right? What was the teachers' report of all the needs? You know,
We
it's
didn't bring teachers, we
that was part of the
didn't bring
plan. Where are
teachers
the
in.
teachers coming into the?
The athletic director came in and brought the needs, and are they needs or are they wants? I don't know. You know, they'd all be great things to have. They'd all be great things to have. I think at this point, bringing the teachers in, the finance teachers isn't going to do a lot. I think at this point, the board has a couple of decisions to make. One, do you want to keep moving forward with this? Two, are you accepting of the grand plan at 21 million? Are you accepting of the scaled down plan of the two-station gym at 12 million? Three, do you think we should start educating the public and get that survey out in June, July, and try to take it to referendum in November? Or is that's too early? We should set it aside and maybe look at it again for the spring.
I wonder how valid the response would be to the survey if the taxpayers don't know that we're going to be hit with another referendum.
Well, that's a part of the I mean, I think it's going to be cloudy for the taxpayers no matter what, because this is out there in the news that this is going on.
Right,
And
but is the referendum for operation out there in the news?
maybe not as much as this.
No. So I don't think it's fair to survey the taxpayers if they don't know the full story.
Well,
And the survey may have to include the story that we will be looking at a $3 million referendum.
The last survey talked about operating cost referendum and building referendum in the same survey. And every time we talk about building, I think we talk about operating cost referendum.
Well, I think we're jumping the gun on decisions, because what we don't have is a well-vetted communication package. Everything we're talking about needs to be addressed in an articulate package that we can all read independently and understand it, and then start sharing that with the community on both the operational.
Yes.
That's always been the plan. We've always talked about, and that's what we did on our last building. The communication has to be upfront before they're making
Before we
decisions.
survey.
Yeah, before we're making decisions.
For the survey.
So-
And that's why tonight we'll probably vote to suspend our policy and bring Myron on, because I think that Myron Construction can help with the,
They would help.
The education piece.
Information they did. And last time, we started the committee in September, and we didn't have Myron on board until the spring. Here you've had 4 meetings.
3 meetings.
3 meetings, and now, so this is going a lot quicker than that.
I just think November is too quick to think about trying to.
Well, we can get to a vote here, but I thought, I think everyone here agrees that the operational referendum is priority, because that keeps the lights on, the staff, and all the basic functions. So I think it's fine to, when we clear that up here, get a vote to not go in fall. And then we should start the communication for the operational referendum. And then we can probably do it together, and we can tell them, right? Right now, we're looking at this one is based on good planning and budget movements. We won't be collecting more money from the taxpayer for the operational referendum, we'll just maintain. And then the option is start looking at this, but I think we gotta vet the needs, because if we bring all this space in here, you're telling me the teachers won't take advantage of any of that? This is not, I mean,
What teachers?
talk to the teachers. Talk to the teachers and ask them.
She wants to know which teachers you're talking about.
All of them. So my point is it's space. So, because I don't know, but like, so the gym teachers would have more space.
Right.
But I think there's more than that, because if someone wants to have if it's raining outside, could they take their class somewhere? In
Well, the
rain?
third gym would allow them to, the third gym, the 91 gym would become a playground when the weather's
So
bad.
those are benefits that should be captured for this school, other than just sports. A structure like that should be helping a building for more than just sports. I don't think we want to sell it. And this performance area, and we talked to that. So that's the only thing about the group, and I think you're done meeting already, but talk about a quick homework job, is let's dig into this and get the communications and find out if there's really no more benefit than a sports team to walk in there, I think you're right, this is a bad idea.
The performance space, Amy Ensign was there at the last meeting. And the general renovations that they do on this plan, not the red plan, not the second plan that he presented, this plan, the green plan where the stage stays the same. They do those little renovations. They do the little renovations. The pull-out bleachers seat about 300. And
424.
424. No, that's whole little, those, oh, okay,
Those are the
424.
and there'd be 350 chairs on the floor.
And then you have chairs on the floor. So Amy said, as far as those pull-out bleachers, some people might like that seating, but it doesn't help her group do a better performance. And she wouldn't consider those the best seats in the house because they're too far away. So if you do those, it takes away, you can never have competition in that gym because the bleachers come so far out. So the basic changes that they do would help them a little bit.
That considers too the existing stage and acoustics and everything else that exists in there now. If you're talking about a major upgrade to the performance stage and the acoustics and the sound system, I think the pull-out bleachers would probably be a good option. But if you just if you not consider that, just pull in bleachers without a major stage renovation, yeah, I would agree with her.
So this isn't an action item. I guess what we want is to learn about the tax impact that any of these options would have. And
Would we talk about, we talked very, very briefly about this fitness facility, right? Are we talking about the realities that we can open up the community? And so quite frankly, all our great farming community that don't want to pay for the YMCA, they would have every right and ability to come into that room. I mean, those are positive points, and we just don't have all the positive points vetted out.
That's a good point.
That hasn't
been talked about at all.
No, right, that's a big selling point.
the committee did talk about
Yeah,
that.
we didn't talk about all tonight though.
Yeah, I was right. And so that's why I just think a little more vetting, and if we need Myron to do that, you know, because at the end, and then once we capture it all in a good communication package, and we couple that with the survey, then we'll find out what we're doing. If taxpayers don't want it, then we don't do it. But I don't think we've done our homework yet. I don't think we've got a good enough package yet to send out.
Politically, though, I think we were running a very dangerous route right now. Because everybody's going to look at this. I think this is something we should, we'll think about it and come back to it later and focus on the operating plan.
What is later?
Well, after we know, this is all nice stuff, but times have changed since when this referendum for this building came through. When this went past, people were paying $2.20 for a gallon of gasoline. They were going to the grocery store and didn't have to bring a $100 bill out just to buy 20 items, all right? Times have really changed. And we have some people that have, it doesn't bother them at all how much they pay for gas in this township. But in our town, a lot of people do. And it's the talk of everybody right now of how expensive it is. And I even personally when I go to a store, I marvel at the woman ahead of me, and not to be, sexually, but has a grocery basket full of stuff, and it's $350. Like, where are you getting that money, and how can you afford that? So I think, again, as I say, it's timing. I think we focus now for the rest of the year on getting the operating referendum through. This is nice talk, but I think you should say it's way in the future. We're just now beginning it, so we're not going to be any surprises that a year from now this is going to appear on somebody's ballot, because it won't pass. It's as simple as that. That will not pass. This passed because it was so definite of a need to the community every time they walked into this building, when their kids came here, when they drove down the street. You had almost 100-year-old building, okay? a fire traffic center. This is not going to be the same as providing new space for reading, writing, arithmetic, chemistry, biology, and that type of stuff, okay? Then just to let you know, if you get into the area of offering health services for the community, I mean, athletic, or you are going to now run into political pushback from the YMCA. The YMCA is a very, very powerful organization, has a lot of very influential members, and a lot of people in this community have spent a lot of money and time to develop that, and anything that takes away from that, and I can talk to you personally, that I've stepped into that minefield myself in years past. So just be aware of that's not going to be looked upon like, oh, isn't that really great? I look also at what's going on in Southern Door right now with respect to what they've spent on athletics. It ain't playing well in Peoria. I'm just giving a caution. I think we should focus on our first priority is the operating referendum. Come back to this, if we're successful with this, then come back and start having discussions. If people talk about it, yeah, but we're just looking into a long-range plan. We're not looking at something that you're going to hit your wallet in the next 24 months. I'm just from being a political realist.
So I think we are good with not going in August, but we talked about that multiple times. I think the other thing, the last time we did this, it was 8 months or longer. And so the stop, I don't believe we stopped this unless the people are, because parents brought this recommendation. And we're just supporting to see how they bring this together. So the question would be, I don't disagree with you, but it's just like a strategic roadmap, right? We've talked for years about strategic road mapping and stuff like that. A strategic roadmap would call this out. It should be documented.
Right.
And say, we're trying to bring this in the future, and this is what it is, and the longer it's out there, the more questions can be answered. Because a lot of people are answering questions right now.
It's fine, as long as you don't step in the poop trap of these things all of a sudden merging and look, if we do the one, this is going to come right behind us. And I think
Well, that's
why,
communication.
but that's all about timing. And I think you have to look up here, this is nice, and we're going to look at it in the future. It's not our high priority right now. Our high priority is getting the operating referendum through.
The only flip side is the longer you wait, the cost of the building goes up.
That's true.
Right? I mean, that's, but
Okay,
that's
we
what-
spent a lot of time on this,
Okay.
so what about this? What about this? We asked Bray to work with Myron if we vote to suspend that policy tonight. We asked Bray to work with Myron on some kind of an informational package. We asked Mr. Lipke to contact Baird and see what kind of tax impact anything from 12 million to 21 million might have, and bring that back to the school board next meeting. For the newspaper, because I know they're here tonight, I think it's really important to stress that this isn't going to referendum. This is a study, and the community will, if we decide to take it to survey or vote, the community will have the last word. The community will be able to respond in a survey. The community will be able to have a vote if it even goes to referendum. The last thing I'll say on the whole topic is, I think Sturgeon Bay did a brilliant thing. Dan Tornado came out and said, we're putting a capital referenda on hold right now. They too wanted to make some gym updates and update to their performance theater, and he said, given the circumstances of the economy, we're putting capital referenda on hold, and we're not looking at that right now. So, thank you, Clint. Mr. Luther will be back in touch with you.
I guess, can I just run through a couple of things if we have just a few seconds? I just
Okay.
jotted a couple notes as you guys were talking, so hopefully you can still see my screen. Again, I completely understood as far as November being off the table. I only put it up there again just from the perspective if we were to survey, we need to do it right away. And again, if the goal is slow playing this and making sure our communication ducks are in order, I don't dispute that the timing of that's difficult and challenging. And I just change that just so it stands out. Just again, kind of going through other scenarios. So as we look out April of 25, as I mentioned, I think our challenge there is then the timing for that is we would have to survey in the fall of '24, which would be during your communication campaign for the operational. So the difficulty there is just maybe the confusion or not quite sure what we're looking at. In odd years, there is not a November referendum cycle, so your next opportunity then would be April of '26. So for that, you would survey in the 25, and then if we did push this out to November 26, that would be the gubernatorial election, and again, you'd survey in the spring of '26. I guess my other just question or topic with regard to community, I kind of see this a little bit as two different things. So number one, there would be the communication package that we would do in support, or potentially, if you'd like us to, in support of the operational referendum. Ray, specifically, we've this pull up with just their operational question. This past spring, we worked with the Sparta School District.
But you're breaking up a little.
Okay, we've got to, I think these are things we can discuss next time, Clint, we've got to move on.
I'll call you tomorrow, Clint.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
We do have the attorneys coming in about 8:30, so we'll try to move as quickly as we can, but we don't want to short anything. So if anybody has something they can put up for next time, that would be great. Administrators, Melissa.
Yeah, great. Okay, sorry, caught me off guard here. I just want to say last week was super fun with staff appreciation. We had a blast. All three of us had a blast. It was great to appreciate the staff with everybody. And then the only other thing that I wanted to update is that we've made some state testing changes and brought that to the admin team multiple times. And what we're going to do is trying to consolidate state testing at the ACT, the pre-ACT, and the bulk of the forward exam on one day, where the large majority of the students are engaged in testing. There's multiple benefits to that, which I can explain a little bit. But I've always wanted to do that as the district assessment coordinator, really simplify testing, get the testing done in a shorter time frame, more learning for kids that happen throughout the spring, and less impact on teacher schedules. So I'll bring that to y'all a little later, maybe in the summertime when it's more fleshed out. It's exciting.
Just a quick question. Maybe my brain is failing me. In the olden days, did we not take ACT in our senior year?
My time has been
Junior
over
year. Bunch of college
years.
senior.
Yes, you applying,
Everyone wasn't required to take it.
Well, I don't know about you, Jerry. That was way
I
back.
don't remember it.
Your brain is.
Mr. Hills.
Thank you. In your packets, I had included a study that I had come across that took a look nationwide at standardized testing from grades 3 through 8. That study was done to see where things were at before COVID, where things were at after COVID, and where things have gone the year following that. Just to see how much of that gap has been closed because of COVID. It's kind of a nice study to be able to take a look at, just to kind of see how districts are doing, how they were doing before, and like I said, closing the gap itself. Sevastopol was about 3 points higher in math and about 1.5 points higher than the state average in reading. When I say points, standard deviations. In taking a look at where things are at in 2023, we're about 1/4 point away from getting back to where we were pre-COVID, which is huge when you consider how much farther ahead we were prior. So for us to be only 1/4 point away, really not that significant when we take a look at area districts around us and where their levels are at, and they're still 1/4 point away. We have much farther to fall, so a lot more to gain back than we have. So huge kudos to our staff for being able to do that. Something else too, just trying to find a comparable, if you're familiar with Mequon, it's a community just north of Milwaukee, very affluent. They have about a 5%, maybe 6% free and reduced population. compared to ours, which is about 35, and our scores compare very favorably with theirs. So again, kudos to our staff for being able to close that gap that quickly. I think a big part of it too, kudos to Mr. Ludke for pulling our team together and taking a look at what we could do to try and get kids back in the building as much as possible, as quick as possible. I think that was a huge factor in getting us to be where we are right now, post-COVID, so that the kids didn't lose that much ground during that time. So again, it was just a really neat survey to be able to, or study to take a look at, just because there isn't a lot of that kind of information out there.
Excellent. Mr. Schaefer?
Well, sticking with the state testing theme and appreciating our staff, I guess week 2, so that's awesome. But in 2015, Wisconsin made it a requirement that all juniors take the ACT. And since that time, as we were logging data and keeping track, right now since Wisconsin implemented the ACT, the Wisconsin student average is a 19.4, while the national average for the ACT is a 20.6. One thing I think is really special to talk about, our class of 2025, their average score this year was a 22.13. And I know that, not to compare, but we were really excited about last year's group. And, they're pretty dang close to last year's group in score. Last year's the graduating class of 2024 was 23.52, and our current junior class is 22.13. So once again, another special shout out to all of our teachers, everybody who plays an important role in helping our kids in their preparation for this test, the state test, and all the teachers who participate in the boot camps to give our students extra opportunities. And also, we have our freshmen and sophomores, they take the pre-ACT, so we have a good idea of where they're at, and it allows us to be more purposeful with our instruction. So I can't say enough about the preparation that goes into this, the work that our teachers are doing, and we continue to have such a great output. So congratulations to the students and their hard work and their teachers.
I skipped, were any of the guests signed up to speak, Tasha?
No one was signed up to speak.
Superintendent's report.
Title IX is going through some changes which requires more training. In fact, it's required training for our staff. Most of our staff's going to spearhead that at the ready fall. And in Act 20, there's been a lot of progress on deciding what the screener is and hiring the reading coaches statewide, but that person, our reading specialist, and Aaron Hill's going to attend some trainings this summer. So we're in good shape in those 2 areas.
Anything? Committee reports. The anniversary committee is kind of quiet right now. The last thing will be, we're going to put a sticker with this logo and the graduating class inside the diplomas. And then the yearbook will be ready next fall. So we'll have some event to wrap that all up.
And speaking of diplomas, they put them in outside. And Mr. Schaefer, you want to go over 2 graduations in which board members are attending?
Yes, so we have our middle school graduation Thursday, which I believe May 29th. I'm sorry, I don't have my calendar in front of me, but I believe that's
Wednesday.
What's that?
It's Wednesday.
Wednesday, May 28th. Thanks, Mr. Hickey. Graduation is May 28th, the last day of school is May 29th is the last day. All right, you guys.
No, we have to.
Okay, all right. Hey, help me out a little bit. So May 29th is Wednesday.
No. Yes.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. All right.
At
All
what
right.
time?
This has been really fun. If you don't show up, I don't blame you. You don't know what day you're supposed to be there. But, okay. So the middle school graduation is May 29th at 6 p.m. We would like board members to be present for that graduation. And then, of course, the high school graduation is Sunday, June 2nd at 2 p.m. So I was wondering what board members would be able to attend our middle school graduation, so I can have you included in our program, as well as the high school graduation on June 2nd at 2 p.m.
I will be at both.
Sam?
I could do both.
Okay, who said the same? Okay, Jeff.
If there's room, I can,
One more time?
I can do both.
You both? Okay, thanks, Keith.
I can't do the 29th, I'm out of town, but I can do the second.
The second? Okay.
I'm out of town both times.
Nobody's judging.
That's okay, that's okay. I just,
There's no shame.
If you don't mind more, I can do both.
You can do that.
It's a 6 out, 6 out 5.
I was waiting for something to happen.
I don't think we need any report on the auxiliary gym. Update on that.
Are we supposed to be signing diplomas? I thought.
I got them here, we're gonna sign them tonight, we couldn't do it until we had the election to know who to sign what line.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought I read somewhere.
Yeah, we're signing, we couldn't do it until the election, because we
Okay.
had to move this what all of us.
Need to confer. Included the agenda in there to kind of make it short. Find the agenda down, thank you,
I knew we were there.
Okay, compensation was something we discussed. There were a few questions. What we decided is we really need to create a compensation committee this summer consisting of teachers, support staff, school board members, superintendent, principals, or pupil services if they like to participate, and examine what we're doing and if there's anything else we can do in regard to compensation. So we won't discuss a lot of that tonight, we'll discuss it when we get to that point. Sick days, we didn't discuss sick days. There had been a question about guaranteeing that sick days be there for the employee when they retire. We can't guarantee that. This board can't commit another board sometime in the future to guarantee that. Insurance was a topic of discussion because, of course, rates went up. I think in the end, people understood we did the best we could. Somebody else thinks something different, tell me, but I think in the end, they understood. They thought we did the best we could with what we had. There was a little discussion on field trips, and field trips were kind of cut across the board because costs had to be cut someplace.
But the cost and bus driver availability.
Bus driver availability, loss of curriculum time. And it's not necessarily the cost of the field trip, it's, does each class need 4 field trips out of the year, maybe with 2. Maybe the teachers need 2. Which are the 2 most important? The 4.
We also brought up the fact that Sevastopol Educational Foundation could play a part in funding, and I think we need to maybe visit that whole subject of who's on the board of that foundation.
It is funding, but it is also the availability of bus drivers and loss of curriculum time.
Okay,
So there are
but,
two
if
things to consider there.
If it's a funding consideration, I think, there's outside sources that we can utilize.
I agree with you, Dick. I worked with that board for a while, and they were very active. I haven't heard anything about
Yeah,
it
we might have to revisit the whole.
years. I would agree. I would like that.
I'm the representative of the Sevastopol Education Foundation, so I'll reach out to Steve and see what's going on there. And then stipend pay, that's another one we should look at this summer to see where we land in regard to other schools in our area.
The folks that look at it, something you to have a stipend for, do you want me to come up with a form for that? So it's consistent, so one person doesn't.
I think we
Right.
need to know, what is the activity, how many students do they expect? What's the activity in the meeting time? And what's the value. So that was generally. Do we have anything on budget?
You have the budget report in front of you. Right now, our fund balance is healthy with $2.2 million, and Fund 39, which is the building debt, is $3 million, and the payment going out. Much more into that.
And anything on facilities?
The well pump by the concession stand went out again, and what the problem is the pump is designed to push a lot of water out fast for the irrigation system, and we've been having water failure tests for drinking ability. Well, what the crew's been doing is running the hose slowly to let water run, so you get a good sample, but the pump isn't designed to run that slow for that long a time, and then it gets hot, which actually creates more bacteria. So now they put the pump down lower, put a shield on it, and it should be good to go.
Is that an on-demand submersible?
I don't know that much about water pumps, Dick, but I think so.
Yeah.
I don't know that much about water pumps. I've learned a lot, but not enough.
You know, can you be a plumber?
Not a good one.
Okay. Mr. Weidman has an idea for an alternative compensation model. This is not the last word, this is just an idea he has that he would be presenting at that committee when we meet. I don't think it's something we can spend a whole lot of time vetting tonight, but did you want to say a few words about it?
Well, you know, this is a system, when I was a university employee, similar to the system that I worked under for 30 years. The different categories, different levels, basically relate to years of service, continuous service. Necessarily, I put in 5 levels. The system I worked under really only had 3 with the possibility of the senior level. It's really to load up in the early years of younger teachers that are coming on board, to reward them for continuous service, to get their salary levels up to closer to our median salary. I think our median salary right now for teachers is somewhere around $55,000 to $56,000 per year. And I think the sooner you can provide some kind of incentive for them to get closer to that in a shorter period of time. So, I mean, you know, it's pretty simple steps, and you know, the percentage of increase in base salary decreases as the years accumulate and as they move up the various levels, because also their base salary is moving up as well. So, you know, I think it's a good start for the committee. And I also, you know, on the other page, had some considerations, some things that could be applied to it. I will say, you know, under cost considerations, I would cross out the first bullet because I don't have the numbers of whether this would be a considerable increase. I did it late at night, so it was kind of like just a guess. But I mean, with these things, it's a kind of a dynamic system. So as you know, we don't have a lot of turnover. We do have some, but people coming in may be of varied experience. So we may have people coming in with relatively zero experience. They may be coming right out of college, or they may be coming out from a different program, a different school, and to try and put them into these different levels, I think is a challenge. Obviously, it doesn't relate to the step system we have now, because the step system we have now has definite salaries for every year of service. I think we're moving away from that type of a system to a more negotiable salary system based on years' experience, based on the candidate's expertise and so on. So I think all these considerations that I put on the second page are things that should be in the discussion with the committee. And I think the committee should obviously be made up of all, represented by all the different staffs and the levels that we have. And we need to start the process hopefully sooner than later.
I anticipate that once we get a new superintendent on board, that that'll be one of the, we have the he or she, but I think it would be one of the first things we look at this summer.
I think it looks interesting and,
Yeah, I think
worth pursuing.
it's a different approach to what we have now.
Okay, so hold on to that because it will be coming back. Then we need, last time we voted to suspend policy 6320, the purchasing policy, which would allow us to bring Myron Construction on board as a consultant and possible construction manager in that auxiliary gym study. So is there a motion to continue to suspend that policy?
Well, I move to continue to suspend that purchasing policy.
Second.
Questions or discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. The time off request for Regina Isaacson was requested to come back to the agenda. There was a question if Mr. Isaacson remained in the room during the discussion last time. And I think he made one comment that was a little quick to speak, so he didn't remain in the room. We did contact the Wisconsin Association of School Boards attorney, and before he was a whole litany of things, and what the bottom line is, best practices that the school board member would recuse himself, leave the room, but would not be required to. And then you can see this is a long memo, there are other things on the memo.
I highlighted the main line from Bob up as
That it's best practice, and there are many reasons why a board member might want to recuse themselves, especially if we're discussing financial matters.
maybe similar if we're doing stipends and Peace Wife coaches or in sub-pay and Dave's wife. This is all.
So the request for Virginia's back on the agenda. I did contact,
Leave it or does he have to leave it? I'm just going to sit over here.
I contacted Annie Roberts, the manager of the DI program. Previous years, they would stay at a university and they had hotel rooms there, and the program was not requiring a parent or guardian to accompany each child. So there were kids that didn't have a parent or a guardian along. This year, when they met in October, they told everyone that they would be requiring a parent or a guardian along with the child this year, because now they have to get, in addition to the $5,500 that each team pays to enter the competition, they have to get hotel rooms. So each family needs to have their own hotel room and their own guardian, parent or guardian with that child. That's the new information that I have. You saw the letter that we received from one of the coaches earlier today, asking that we approve this, indicating that maybe if we didn't approve it, the student wouldn't be able to attend. But we're still stuck with the policy. And we can't change the policy, we're not changing.
I move to approve Rich Isaac's request for leave based on the extenuating circumstances that we've heard and would be documented as another review.
Second.
How does this coincide with policies for the future, for requests from staff for the future?
Great question.
That was one reason I put on extenuating circumstances, right? Because in one meeting and these other meetings, they're like, oh, we trust a lot of flexibility. And our meeting confirmed, we wanted more flexibility for the admin team. So we're giving some flexibility here, but that flexibility doesn't go everywhere. So that's why we capture it with extenuating circumstances, the kid can't go, and that's unfortunate for that child. So the child should be able to.
I think this is a policy that we can try to look at again sometime. And we've talked about it 3 months now, we don't have a solution, right? But maybe the answer is to loosen it up a little bit and say, okay, once every 3 years or once every 5 years instead of once in a lifetime. Because we should know now that if the team goes next year, Bridget may be back asking to go again next year.
I guess the thing I struggle with, this is my personal thing, is that putting a value on something, you know, like we've got other, I'm not saying I'm for or against, I mean, whatever, but I'm just saying that we've had other requests in the past that we've had to deny. And maybe those requests to that person are just as that, I mean, I just struggle with being the person that decides if this is, you know what I mean? Like,
Is
we've had other
this more
cases where
important
we
than the other?
haven't-
Is this more important than the other?
Yeah,
I
I mean,
understand
to
what
tell
you're
somebody
saying.
that, yeah, you can't go on your trip, it's not your kid, but it's important to you, but you can't go because, I struggle with that. That's just my, and I've been going around with this. I mean, I've had kids. My first daughter did the eye, and we were fortunate to know and whatever. I get that. I have kids, and kids are the most important thing. We had a policy, obviously the policy, our update last time was, we ran into shortages last week or whatever, where there were gaps because people do that. And the policy, we talk a lot about, we put kids first, right? All kids, I mean, everyone deserves, all kids are important, right? And that's another thing I struggle with. My kids are the most important thing to me, just as I'm sure Bridget, and that is something that we put in the front, but yeah, I don't know, that's just my 2 cents. I'm not.
I agree with you, Keith. I think then we might as well just approve everybody.
I'm not, I'm just saying that's just a struggle.
This is a classic case that you get in graduate school when you take your personnel classes. The classic case was presented, I'll never forget this one, is you let Joe Jones go to his Canadian fishing trip because he's always done it, he put his request in. And then Mary Sue comes in and wants, 2 weeks later, I'm going to get married that week. You then say, okay, Joe Jones, you can't go because we need this number of people here. We're going to let Joe Susie get married because emotionally that's more important. And so I think the problem with any HR discussion is to try to find some way to take the emotion out of it. And I threw out, we were talking earlier, my only concern is this. If you adopt a policy that allows faculty or just employees here to take off to do stuff like this, that is contrary to federal law because you're discriminating against non-married people who have no children. They can't take advantage of that. That is directly against federal law. Under the Equal Employment Act. Huh?
I don't think we're doing that.
You think what?
I don't think we're doing that. I don't think we're breaking
Okay,
any law.
then you're going to have
This is
to.
an interpretation of extenuating circumstances.
What-
And whatever that may be.
Okay, I don't have a opinion because it's an
Or you
emotional
get a
thing.
lawyer, we're not
I'm just-
breaking the law.
Well, I'm
Tell you that
just,
right
if, then what's the extenuating circumstance?
Well, that's what's going to be a growing evaluation by a board like this.
Yeah, I
For
guess
months
I
we've been
sort of
talking
being
about
that authority to override. I mean, our administration put in they did it obviously, and I'm not the policy writer, I'm not administration, God bless the people.
I mean, the employee handbook gets approved by the board.
I understand, but obviously, the employee handbook comes from direction of you.
Yeah, I wrote it.
The people in our administrative team, you guys are the ones that know the policy. Yes, we approve it to support our administration, so
So
that's,
I'm going to understand the policy, this up here is you only give one of these days in a lifetime or something?
That's, the policy says you can use one personal day in May, you can't use an extended holiday, you have a limit on how many people are on a particular day. So this extending holiday, it's 2 personal days in May, and she's already had one exception, which the board has already granted one exception, that's been past practice, that's not written down anyplace. So,
That's
as
not
administrators,
policy.
we follow the handbook, and our goal is to staff the building at all times. That's our goal, is to staff the building when the kids are here.
And I think in this case, a sub is identified individual.
But when the next person comes along, you can't turn that person down.
Yes, you can.
Why?
It's called leadership. You make decisions. Leadership sucks.
Well, they may have extenuating circumstances.
Well, then we'll have to evaluate, and then this group will have to make a leadership decision.
David's right. Policies
Not
are
all
guides
policies.
to, policies are guides to action, which can be, because of circumstances, you can maneuver around them.
Yeah.
I'd like to call the question.
I had a comment I wanted to make.
No questions, no calls, so,
Okay. Tasha, you want to read the motion back, please?
Approve Bridget Isaacson's leave request due to extenuating circumstances because the student would be unable to otherwise attend the competition.
We'll take a roll call vote, Jerry.
So I was the understanding that from now on we approve them all.
can we add a thing to?
Can't caveat that on the situation.
You vote yes or no.
Yes, yes or no.
I think that's what I mean. I mean, I struggle with it. Because I just try to support the administration. I just feel every time we push something.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. This is something we should, this is a policy we should look at. What I was going to say was that I was going to make a friendly amendment that we approve it contingent on that option not being available again for 3 years, but we haven't done that, so.
do you want first whole day time brought up by next month's agenda?
Well, I don't think it pays to talk about it anymore until we're really ready to look at the whole
I
policy.
think it's gonna take you more than one time.
I think it is too, because I think it's a bigger topic than.
All right, put it back on.
Yeah, and from now on, if we have to close the school down, we have to close the school down if we don't have enough staff.
That's not true. That's not a
We've
true
set a
statement.
precedent now.
No, we're a leadership team. We make this
This one, the league is gonna read it, we'll
You can
cross
sound
that
very
over.
similar another time and say no.
That's where I struggle with
That's not fair.
It's not an issue of
The
fairness,
next time.
it's
But-
the leadership, it's you in the leadership position, you weigh all the circumstances, the policy,
Okay.
okay? Right? Okay.
We'll have that discussion next
We'll
month.
talk
Move
about
on.
it again. Mr. Lewisman, last meeting, we talked about it.
I would,
So do you have anything real time you want to report on legislative
Yes.
to keep things moving along?
Talking about referenda, Senator Chris Larson, who is from Milwaukee,
Right here.
is talking about special ed funding and how it could avert school referenda. He's saying if the funding streams for special education cover the full cost of those services in Wisconsin schools, school districts could already have over 60% of the funding that they sought from voters in referendum this spring. He is asking to convene a special session to use some of the state budget surplus to raise state reimbursement of special education costs to 90%, which is also what WASB has been asking for. A legislative fiscal bureau memo requested by Larson showed the move would cost about $970 million annually if costs are similar to those for next year. So I think it's interesting that at least one senator is looking at some innovative ways of having to reduce the number of referenda that schools are facing. And also, there is an effort at the federal level. The feds had promised 40% of the excess cost for special education. They have never met this, going all the way back to fiscal year 2010. And if the feds would come through with their commitment for IDEA, we would be in a much better position at the state level, and thus would also reduce that need for referenda. So at least there's some movement out there. There's a little bit of talking.
Thank you. The esports stipend.
I gave it right up in your packet about what the stipend would be. There's three, we got like when we approved esports, the village also had come back with a recommendation for a stipend. With 2 coaches, there's 3 seasons, fall, winter, spring. Each season's like 12 weeks long. I met with Mr. Phillips and Ms. Schumacher, we discussed it, how many hours they put in the stuff. We got the other stipends already on there. We came up with $1,000 per coach. They're co-coaches out of head and assistant. And it'd be $1,000 per season. There's 3 seasons in a year. And that way if someone else switched in, like to a winter sport or fall or spring, they invite us and say, well, it wasn't doing it all the time, it'd be equal.
So this would be $6,000?
$3,000 a piece, yes, if it runs 3 12-week sessions.
And we don't know how many kids we're going to have or anything like that.
That'd be too difficult to know at this time because
It
it's new.
just seems like a lot of money for a brand new
Well,
program.
Yeah, and we kicked around with the other coaching positions that are seasonal. It's hard, it was not an easy thing to do, but that's where we're kind of landed.
Well, it's no different than first year soccer was here, or first year
Right.
whatever was here.
Right, so
So this is comparable to other positions, you're saying?
we looked, I looked at the stipend list for other sports.
Okay.
Now there's less.
So the practice time, the coaching time will be
Correct.
comparable to the other
Correct,
sports?
12 weeks long for each season.
So have coaches been identified yet? No.
Yeah.
Maybe Mrs. Schumacher and Mr. Phillips, the 2 that presented that night.
I move we approve the recommended stipend for these schools.
Second.
Questions or discussion? All in favor, say aye.
All right.
Opposed? Motion carried. Look for a motion to approve the lunch prices for 2024-25.
In your packet, there's the PPI required determination of the lunch prices. We have the alphabet, at least a dime. We kept it a round number because there's where we undercharge, which is fine. This is only for paid lunches. The reduced lunches would remain the same rate, and free, of course, is free. And so we're looking to go up by basically a quarter in each one, except for the adult lunches already at an odd amount, so we go from $4.10 to $4.25 for that. And milk, we're actually losing a couple cents per carton right now because we're charging 30, and it's like 32, $8 or something. So we like to at least break even on the milk. We don't have milk good yet. It might go up too, right? And there's only one dairy that will provide our milk here.
I would move to approve the lunch prices for 2024-25 as recommended.
Second.
Questions or discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Then we would look for a motion to approve the contract with CISA Sabbath. For the 24-25 school year.
Same number of days of services as last year.
Move to approve the CISA 7 Cooperative Education Services Agency contract. CISA 7.
Second.
Any questions or discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. And then we have the two resignations.
Make a motion to approve the resignation of Heather Spence as a JV volleyball coach.
Second. Questions or discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried.
Move to approve the resignation of Ron Frame from the high school boys basketball assistant coach.
Second.
Questions or discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. That concludes our regular business, and the board will now take a motion to convene to executive session. Second. Roll call vote. Jerry? Jeff?
Aye.
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 Aye. Motion carried at 8:36 PM. Okay, we're back in open session at 10:38 PM, and we'll take a motion on the high school boys varsity basketball coach.
Move to approve the hiring of Tom Ash as the head varsity boys basketball coach.
Second.
Questions or discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Next Monday, we meet with Patty Vickman. Did you, everybody get your binder?
Yep.
Try to put the questions in there. There are so many, we can't possibly ask them all, so if you can start identifying which ones are important to you, we'll be looking at that. And probably tomorrow, we should be getting a link where we'll be able to see whatever applicants there are for the position.
I got something.
There's no data there.
Oh, okay. But then we got the access.
I got logged
Because
into
the
it.
cutoff was today,
Yeah.
and then you can see the rest of the meetings that are coming up. So is there a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried at 10:39 PM.